You are sitting in the room where the air has gone completely still. A colleague has just been publicly fired, or perhaps a loved one is crying across the table. The atmosphere demands total, silent empathy. But somewhere deep in your chest, a terrifying reflex misfires. You feel an agonizing flush of heat rise to your face. A high-pitched, involuntary giggle escapes your throat. You cover your mouth, but the sound is already out. In a moment that requires the utmost gravity, your body has betrayed you with laughter. In the modern world, this neurological glitch feels like a catastrophic moral failure. It makes us look callous, detached, or even monstrous to the people who need our empathy the most. But to understand the nervous laugh, we have to strip away our modern anxieties. This is not a glitch at all. It is one of the most powerful, ancient survival mechanisms written into the human code. It is an instinct forged in darkness, designed to save us from our own physiological fear. Long before laughter had anything to do with comedy or punchlines, it was a primal siren. During the Pleistocene era, hyper-vigilance was our default biological state. The evolutionary math was brutally simple. Those who did not jump at shadows were eaten by the predators hiding within them. But a state of perpetual collective terror is incredibly dangerous. Pumping adrenaline and cortisol continuously drains precious calories that ancient humans could not afford to lose. Unchecked group panic leads to chaotic stampedes, abandoned food sources, and fatal accidents in the wild. Our ancestors needed an immediate physiological off switch. They required an acoustic signal to broadcast that a shadow was just a shadow. This brings us directly to the communication origins of our species and what evolutionary biologists call the false alarm theory. Laughter did not begin as an expression of joy. It began as an involuntary acoustic order to stand down. Step out onto the African savannah 200,000 years ago. The darkness is absolute and heavy, unbroken by any artificial light. The night air smells of dry earth and decaying biomass. The grass around you is shoulder high. In this suffocating theatre of potential death, every snapping twig or shifting shadow is a harbinger of violence. The tribe moves through the brush not as a gathering of individuals, but as a single, trembling organism. Suddenly, a sharp rustle breaks the silence just a few yards away. The collective response is instantaneous and terrifying. Heart rates double in a matter of seconds. Pupils dilate to swallow whatever faint starlight is available. Digestion halts entirely, and blood floods the extremities to prepare for a sprint. The rich, metallic scent of fear sweat fills the air, acting as a silent chemical alarm. The entire group freezes, holding their breath, spears raised toward the dark, unseen brush. To be wrong about the danger in this moment means a violent death. But remaining in this state of physiological red line means exhaustion, or a tragic, friendly fire accident. Then the brush parts. It is not a saber-toothed cat. It is merely a stumbling adolescent returning to the group, or a heavy branch falling from a dead tree. The physical dissonance between the expectation of being ripped apart and the reality of mundane safety is absolutely staggering for the human nervous system. The tense air must be expelled from lungs that were tightened for a blood-curdling scream. The resulting sound is a sharp, percussive exhalation of breath. A visceral, desperate pant-hoot that echoes through the damp night air. This ancestral foundation of human laughter is not a sound of mirth. It is a hacking of the nervous system. By emitting this sound, an individual aggressively downregulates the amygdalae of everyone within earshot, pulling them back to reality. The ancient laugh communicates a very specific biological command. It tells the tribe that the anomaly is recognized, the threat is void, and they must not waste another calorie on panic. Neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran identified this exact mechanism. He posited that the evolutionary purpose of laughter is to signal to kin that a sudden shock is trivial. It was an ancient superpower that allowed the tribe to avoid tearing each other apart in the pitch black of the wild. This acoustic pacification system is woven deeply into primate biology. Researchers analysing the acoustic responses of tickled apes traced the evolution of laughter back 10 to 16 million years. They found that human laughter evolved directly from the play panting of our common ancestors. It was used explicitly during rough and tumble play to signal that aggressive actions, like biting or hitting, were mock threats. It was the original biological signal for safety in the face of apparent violence. Even today, our daily behaviour reflects these primal instincts. In a massive observational study, psychologist Robert Provine proved that laughter is almost never a response to a joke. He found that 80% of human laughter occurs during completely banal, non-humorous statements. It remains an ancient tool for social bonding. We use it unconsciously to navigate hierarchies, lubricate tense interactions, and signal to the people around us that we are not a physical threat. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar uncovered the chemical reward behind this survival trait. He discovered that the physical act of heavy, percussive laughing severely strains the diaphragm. This targeted physical stress triggers a massive release of endorphins in the brain. For early hominins, laughing together replaced the time-consuming process of physical grooming. It became a powerful neurochemical tool that allowed us to bond and diffuse tension in much larger tribal groups simultaneously. But what happens when the anomaly is entirely unnatural and the safety never actually arrives? In Stanley Milgram's infamous mid-century obedience experiments, subjects believed they were delivering lethal electric shocks to helpless victims. Milgram documented a chilling phenomenon. As the moral stress and cognitive dissonance peaked, subjects repeatedly broke into violent, uncontrollable fits of nervous laughter. Their brains could not process the horror, so their biology deployed its ultimate failsafe. We see this same primal reflex during moments of acute grief. Researchers studying bereaved spouses have documented sudden, nervous laughter during moments of deep psychological trauma. Neurological imaging confirms that this involuntary laughter processes through entirely different brain pathways than social laughter. It completely bypasses higher cognitive control. It forces a temporary emotional dissociation, signalling to the self and others to briefly pause the overwhelming, agonizing response to tragedy. This deep ancestral architecture brings us right back to the agony of the modern boardroom, the intense argument, or the quiet funeral. We are walking contradictions. We are apes in suits, outfitted with psychological hardware designed for the Pleistocene, yet forced to navigate the hyper-abstract labyrinth of the 21st century. In the ancient world, the false alarm was a literal, physical event. The tiger was actually a bush, and the laughter cleanly concluded the momentary terror. But modern threats are rarely literal, and they almost never evaporate in an instant. Our predators today do not hide in the tall grass. They are chronic, abstract stressors. We face looming financial ruin, the slow breakdown of a marriage, deep social ostracization, and constant existential dread. When we are confronted with the terrifying dissonance of a shouting match or a tragic accident, our ancient biology simply senses the massive, life-threatening spike in cortisol. Our nervous system does not understand abstract modern stress. It only knows that we are redlining, and it frantically searches for the biological stand-down button. Desperate to save us from caloric exhaustion and panic, our body fires the only flare it has: the nervous laugh. It is our brain desperately trying to tell ourselves, and the people staring back at us, that this nightmare is not real, that the social or emotional threat before us is just a harmless false alarm. But the modern threat is incredibly real. The tragedy of the nervous laugh is that the very tool that evolved to bind the ancient tribe together now achieves the exact opposite. By laughing involuntarily at the wrong time, we look insensitive, risking profound social exile. We are left completely trapped in an evolutionary irony. We laugh when we are terrified, desperately trying to summon the safety of an ancient campfire that burned out 100,000 years ago.